Good afternoon and welcome to Perth here. We have the Mercure Perth Masters, which is fully into day 2, and we have the ladies draw to bring you this afternoon. A game, a pretty good game hopefully we're going to see here against Team Morrison and Team Rorvik from Norway. So my name's Alan Hanna and I'm accompanied today by Mari Milne. So Mari, good afternoon and looking forward to a good one here.
Yeah, for sure, Alan. This is bound to be a pretty closely contested and I would have thought quite aggressive game, although we're away to see a hit played here. But these teams have played each other lots of times. They'll know how each other likes to play, and it should be a great game this afternoon to keep us on our toes.
Yeah, I mean, two very, in that kind of the world's rankings, they're very evenly matched. Maybe Morrison just slightly higher ranked at the moment, but as you say, they've played each other many times before, and probably more recently in the Europeans, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to this one. Ice conditions have been really good here again this week, and Paul Martin and his crew do a fantastic job for us here at Perth in the Masters, and we always look forward to coming here.
They do. I mean, they work hard all season for us mere mortal club curlers, but I think they certainly pull out all the stops when it comes to the Masters, and the teams that come to visit appreciate that. They're playing on quick and swingy ice, which is just ideal conditions for a great attacking game of curling.
So we started off here. Morrison was the better of the draw shots and has started here with the hammer. So pretty open end to start off with.
Yeah, I guess they're finding their feet. The practice time here is very limited because of all the draws that we've got to fit in throughout the course of a day. So it is just the one stone and then the draw shot. So I guess they're using this first end to maybe get a read across the sheet and just be playing a couple of different weights to see how the ice is going to react.
Very much so, very different to what you may experience at an international championship where you get your 9-minute practice and get a bit of a, and both teams have that full 9 minutes, so you usually find the sheets fully up to speed right across from the start. So
Marianne wasting no time here and coming round that guard that's been left handily for them. It is slightly off the centre line, but it's it's close enough to the centre line that both teams will be happy to use that to try and get a little bit of cover, protect their stones.
yeah, showing a little bit of intent here, trying to maybe force Morrison to win here at this first end with that kind of setup, which is good.
Rorvik comes into this game on 2 wins, but I think Morrison dropped their first game yesterday, and then didn't have a game this morning. So
yeah, they had their bye this morning, so a bit of an opportunity to get a little bit rested up. I think maybe Rebecca's carrying a slight cold, so
sounds like you're carrying a bit of a cold yourself,
indeed,
Alan.
tickly throat there.
There's lots of bugs been going about this festive season. So now it's Sophie Sinclair's turn to try and get round that guard.
So a good crowd in here this afternoon at Perth. People taking the opportunity to come in and see some high quality curling here in Perth, which is good to see at this turn of the new year again. And we're always well supported here. But if you're watching, you want to kind of see some more, see it live action, see some of these top athletes. We're here all day today and all day tomorrow, and the semi-final and the finals are both on Monday. So yeah, some of us might be logging in from work to kind of watch a game or two from that.
Well, couldn't possibly comment on that. Alan, I'll be back to work on Monday after a bit of a break, so hopefully we'll be able to catch up on the scores. So that was a great weight there from Sophie, but just didn't quite get in as much curl as they were looking for. So 3/4 open probably.
Yeah, it's one thing the players will just need to adjust to. The ice conditions maybe will just straighten out a little bit as we go through the weekend. It's quite a natural thing to do with the stones being run as much as they are, and good sweeping teams. So you know, it's just to keep an eye on where those tracks are that maybe just run a little bit straighter. So
we noticed that yesterday with the less experienced teams. You know, we're just maybe getting caught out with it, throwing possibly a little more weight than they needed to for some of their takeout shots, and just catching straighter paths than they expected, where both teams here are so experienced that the sweepers will be keeping an eye on how the ice is running across the sheet, so we shouldn't see as many flashes on the high side, or you know, hitting on the wrong side of the stone, I think.
It's one thing the juniors do learn as they go through, that these top players have, is that you know, a lot of that good communication that they have is talking about paths and how it's going to react with any particular type of throw on any given weight on any path. So that all comes with just getting the miles in and just getting experience in these situations.
And this is a great opportunity for some of these younger teams to play more experienced teams. And you know, yeah, you're right, the learning curve is massive, but it's a great experience, and they'll take a lot away from their time here.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I was on this morning draw with Rachel Sims, and we did Callie Suter, who, you know, I think are the real deal and very young, but just embracing the whole moment of playing in a tournament again like this against experienced teams, and even although they've not won a game yet, they've been very competitive in both, but just learning all the time. So
absolutely. So that's one of those lines on the ice that possibly a little straighter down the 12 foot than they were expecting, but met objective number one by removing the stone, but just didn't quite manage to hang around, so let's Sophie Jackson call the draw round again.
Yeah, an opportunity. Just, I think they took a little bit less ice there again, just a little bit of adjustment, just to try and see if they can get this counter fully under the guard. Here comes Jennifer Dodds, who throws third stones for Team Morrison. Jennifer just back from a recent mixed doubles tournament in Gothenburg.
Very successful.
Yeah, with partner Bruce Mount, and they won the event. So.
Well, that one certainly drew a bit more, but I think obviously the weight was slightly less than the previous stone, so that will have made the difference there.
Så
decision time for Team Rorvik, whether they're going to try and ignore that one or play the double.
Yeah, I guess it's, you know, it's what you were saying earlier. It's the make sure you're not giving up a two, but you know, I think the point perhaps being made there by Marianne is that even if the double's taken on the other reds, the right-hand red, as we're looking at it, is there quite easy for a split, so you would still potentially be facing two. So I think that the draw round here is really the most kind of sensible shot to try and force, or maybe even steal if they can find the path to round behind.
So just a quick recap of some of the other games that are going on today. We've got Thompson against Laurie. That's an all Scottish junior girls battle on sheet B. We'll have the Chinese ladies team against Peterson on sheet C. The game that we're watching on D is Morrison Rorvik. And sheet E we have Suter, who are playing the GB team that are going to the Uni Games. We'll just track back to this one.
Yeah, again, they took possibly a foot more ice than, certainly 6 inches, maybe not quite a foot more ice, and had it had the right weight, it may well have made the draw, but I think possibly somewhere between the two 2 brushes was the ideal spot there, but that's that gives.
And the teams have got to be really disciplined about how they execute the shot. I would imagine the Norwegians maybe just get a little bit more curl on that clockwise rotation than Team Morrison. So they are going to probably just take that little bit more, but as you say, just maybe verged on a little bit too much in that situation. So again, just on sheet F, we have Archibald, the junior girls, against Poliante, and Xenia Schwaller against Henderson. That's a big battle we've got here on sheet G. Should be a closely fought contest, that one.
This is an ideal opportunity to build your multiple scoring end here if they can make the hit and roll behind the other guard. Yeah, just over curled a little on them. Roll under here is pretty crucial to stop the multiple score. It's like a little bit of weight being thrown. There's not a great deal of ice being given.
Yeah, and definitely hang around here as well, Mary. I mean, you talked about the split option on the one on the right hand side as we look at the screen. So must hang around somewhere just to make sure that doesn't come into play.
Yeah, they certainly, they won't want to be giving up more than a 2, and would love to force this to 1, or this again just hasn't moved maybe as much as they expected, but a fairly straightforward opportunity here for Rebecca to hit and stick for the 2, which would be a nice start for Team Morrison.
Yeah, Team Morrison have had a decent start to the season, the first half of the season. Their competition schedule is probably all built around those opportunities to possibly go to represent at international level, and got their spot at the Europeans and came back with a bronze medal, which was brilliant. So
yeah, I mean that's a nice confidence booster for them. Heading into the second half of the season, they obviously need to keep performing well to, as you say, be in the sort of the selectors' eyes for the Women's World Championship. So yeah, they'll want to put in a good showing here this weekend.
So no mistake there from Rebecca. She makes the nose hit, and it's a pretty simple regulation 2 there, and after the first end it's 2-0 to Team Morrison. So Mary, you've been coming to the Perth Masters for many years, and likewise, and it's just a great buzz about the place when the athletes all arrive, and I think with the addition of the ladies event to the Masters has been a brilliant addition.
I think so. It was. We used to obviously come in and watch, and you can learn a lot from watching the men's game, even as a woman playing. But to actually be able to participate and enjoy the buzz, as you say, and it's always been well supported with spectators. So you're coming in to play in front of a crowd, which isn't always the case. Some of the competitions are smaller comps that you play around Scotland. You're not playing in front of many people, so it is just a different atmosphere, and you're rubbing shoulders with teams and players that you don't get to see very often. So it's nice to catch up with old friends and competitors that you've played against for many years. So the Perth Masters is just such an important competition to Perth, and all of the sponsors, Mercure have been sponsors for many years, and the other sponsors we have, we're so grateful to them. for their continued support of the competition, which allows all these young athletes to come through and also our experienced players to get really great top level competition at the start of the second part of a season. It's crucial. So yeah, no, it's great to see it busy again and to see the spectators in and the bar and restaurant being supported well. So no, it's great.
So we're into the start of the second end here, and no hesitation from Team Morrison. They go top four, and Sophie Jackson just puts it on the tee line.
Oh, that guard's, well, it's crept over the hog line, but it's really too long, I think, to be any real use to them. A stone round there would be easy to come up to. So I think they'll need to choose to put another closer guard if they get the opportunity. Rebecca just having a wee look there to make sure that it was in fact over. It's always worth checking, isn't it?
Very much so.
The ice lake's very quick again today. It was running pretty quick yesterday, so we'll probably try and get a wee time on it to see what speed we're running at, but it's certainly moving along, I think.
Yeah, I think they were up near 15 seconds, even plus that, so, you know, at the peak of it, but
Yeah.
probably did vary a little bit during the games, you know, last night and today, so.
Well, that's been well managed by the sweepers there to be perfectly in line, and possibly could have been a little bit closer, but it does cover the shot in the house. Again, working hard for line here. This is line and weight, I think, actually. Just a little bit of work here to do for the Norwegian lead to find her weight. Great chance for Team Morrison to pop another one round this guard, really put some pressure right onto the Norwegians. It's one of those moments when the sweepers really need to communicate the weight that's coming down there, because Sophie in the head was a little worried about the line clearly and called them on, where because of the just back four weight, it just held up a little bit for them.
It takes many, many years to perfect that as well, in terms of the good communication and you know, we talk about the shot execution part of it, but the communication part of it is almost as important, if not more important, in some of those situations. So.
And that's where the very best of the teams, you know, 1 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the world, their communication is just outstanding. You know, the almost even without, you know, their body language, the way that they, you know, just interact with each other is incredible to watch. The involvement, everyone is involved in every stone that's played. But it's not an ideal, you know, it wasn't exactly where they wanted the yellow placed, but it's given, you know, Team Morrison something to think about. You know, it's there to be tapped, perhaps, for Team Rorvik, and yeah, a change of hand, but that long yellow guard is now the issue if you're trying to come off the anti-clockwise turn. I think the skips are wearing mics today, so we were hoping that we'd be able to hear a little bit of the chatter and discussions. Yeah, this will be interesting to see that long stagger, how that works for them.
Yeah, it's a really tight port that to come through. The high guard is definitely in play. It's it's going to be pretty handle sensitive there. It's see how they go about it. You have to be trying to hold it on this high guard as long as possible.
So now, the weight looks good.
Line's perfect too, Mary,
Yeah.
I think.
Here was us worried, and they've just shown us that actually.
Great shot from
Great
Sophie
stone.
Sinclair.
Yeah, super. Yeah, no alternative here for Team Rorvik but to try and move that front red. Reasonably successful there. It certainly moved the guard. They did lose their own stone, but they've opened things up.
Yeah, unfortunately, just kind of still biting the button there with the Morrison counter, which keeps the scoring area down. Interesting call here from Team Morrison. They've a pretty good position they've got sitting on the house, but after taking that 2-0 lead, they've decided to go quite defensive here, Mary.
I'm quite surprised by this, because this guard is not going to make any difference to whether Team Rorvik got round behind it. That a stone in the house with a guard as long as that on the ice we're playing here would have had no protection. So that does seem to be a strange choice, but I'm sure there will be a good reason for it.
Jeg synes dobbelen egentlig. Hæ? Jeg liker å slå rulla over. Ok. Ja, ok, slå rulle da. 15. Ja. Det var veldig mye vanskeligere. Ja, 15. Litt mye kanskje. Burde kanskje køle litt. Hva er med, Emilie? Nei. Køl er ikke på ennå!
Tuesday you'll get a
Det blir
rest.
bra. Ja, bitte litt vinkel, men det er ikke så lett når den treffer oppå og ruller og ut.
So yeah, I think that was a bit of an opportunity missed there from Team Morrison, taking off the guard there, biting the 1 foot, and and a really good opportunity. And now the Norwegians have come down and played the double, and
Well, that's it. They gave them that opportunity, didn't it? And now we're in a
Var det OK
situation
fart,
here
eller var det
where Team
litt
Rorvik
hard?
will potentially have a chance to blank and then build again the next end, where you're right, the Team Morrison had the upper hand. They could have forced the issue by placing a nice guard on the shot in the 1 foot and asking a few more questions. That didn't really put any pressure on
Forsiktig, vekk!
Team Rorvik there, so that might be one that they discuss
yeah.
after the game. It might might not make any difference at all at the end of the day, but it just seemed like a very strange call to us.
Sometimes these can be a reflection of how the players feel out there after dropping the first game and against Hurleman, and they're probably at a situation where they need a win. I'm not saying it's a must win, but it would be an important win. So maybe just trying to de-risk it and keep it pretty safe, and that they've got a 2-0 lead. But I think on another day there they would have probably thrown one short there.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. We'll see how it pans out now, but at the moment you would say it's certainly looking, the opportunity to blank will be there if that's the way Rorvik want to play it. It's nice looking out on a full sheet of ice though, isn't it, with the team uniforms, and there's a bit of colour, and the ice just looks great. The team, as you say, have worked hard. All the sponsors are in the ice, and the ice is just looking nice and fresh, and it's great.
Yeah, not much Team Morrison could really do there other than just throw it in the rings and see what Team Rorvik do.
Yeah, I guess it's a free opportunity to get a read on a piece of ice that you maybe haven't drawn on before, and certainly lets you check the weight, so they'll be quite happy to have had that opportunity. I think a trade of hits here we'll see, and
think so, and we'll see how the Norwegians go about probably the blank attempt. That's probably what we're going to see.
Yeah, this will be this little kind of patch of ice is possibly down that line that other spots on the ice, so it'll be important that the right weight's thrown here to compensate for that, because they certainly won't want to roll out and just give up the free blank. They'll want to make Christian Skarsland play for the blank if that's what they choose to do. And they are looking to try and make it curl a bit, but I think it's gonna. Nope.
Just
so
rolled out.
Yeah, just caught out by that little bit on the ice that's possibly a touch straighter than once you're inside the 4 foot lines. So I'd be very surprised if this one doesn't come through the house.
Yeah, I'm a little bit multitasking today. I'm doing line scores here as well, so I'm thinking hopefully I can just safely put a blank in for this one, Mary. So,
Yep, it's on its way at a pace that's not gonna trouble the rings. So I think you're safe enough to stick in a wee blank.
Done.
They're working you hard today, Alan. You were on the draw shot measuring, you're commentating, and now doing line scores.
I was
Man of many
indeed.
talents.
Yeah, just kind of. Yeah, we had some of the local juniors here yesterday from the Perth Junior Curling Club who were supporting us doing some line scores and some other odd jobs, and a few of those younger athletes are off to Forfar to play in the under-17s today, so I'm not saying we're a bit light in the ground, but we're kind of just all having to muck in and just make sure that all these important little tasks are all done that helps just a smooth running of the event. So.
It was really nice to see some of the younger junior members in though, and again they're excited to be involved and obviously hoping to take that next step and maybe be playing here in a couple of years. And I think giving them the opportunity to be involved on the draw shot and the line scores was a really nice thing to be able, to do and to give them that experience. But yeah, they're off competing in Forfar in a really competitive and busy schedule our junior curlers have nowadays, so it's great for them.
Yeah, I think there's a fine balance for some of the junior ones to, about the number of events they play in, because as much as they're younger and they'll just want to play all the time. That's just the way they are, and some of them are still in those under 17s and under 21s, and some are. We've even got three teams here that are in the junior ladies. So yeah.
I think it's a busy time for them, obviously now with exams looming, and so yeah, it's a balancing act, isn't it? I'm sure the parents are heavily involved in ensuring the balancing act is done to the right level with curling and school. So we're underway again with our feature game, and Team Morrison have elected to throw into the front ring, so Rorvik are throwing the corner guard. We'll see where this one goes, because there's been a couple of weight issues for the Norwegian lead today. But this one looks like it's much more much more useful in the area that they've got it to. So it's a good corner guard there. So looking to draw around the shot in the front ring. I think you always know that the ice is pretty decent when that's a call that's made. It's not everywhere that you can draw around stones in the house, but it's possible here, although Sophie has potentially overthrown this a little bit and has topped and tailed the house there with a front ring and a back ring. Marianne Rorvik wasting no time to choose to let play the hit and roll behind their corner guard.
So Team Morrison made a slight adjustment in terms of configuration of the lineup this season, Mary, and Sophie Jackson's gone to that position of calling the game and still throwing lead, and Rebecca's still throwing 4 stones. So any thoughts on the change in around that? So.
Well, I think it's an entirely different game when you're not calling the pressures of calling the game and throwing the last stones. While that's standard fare and probably well over 90% of the teams, that's how it's done. But I had a season doing much the same thing. I threw last stones, but didn't skip, and it takes a lot of pressure off when you're maybe not the most confident skip or just maybe comfortable. So I think Rebecca it's freed her up a lot. She maybe looks a little more confident on the ice. I think she's enjoying being part of the sweeping team and involved in that kind of communication. It's just a change for them, and Sophie is calling a great game. She's an experienced skip from junior days and early in her sort of career in women's curling, and I think she's happy to take on the strategy, and it just, as we say, it frees Rebecca up just to concentrate on her shots without having to plan out how the end's going to pan out. So yeah, it seems to be working well for them, and if it works, why not? It's always a good idea to try new things if the configuration as it was just maybe wasn't working for them quite as well as they'd hoped, and this seems to have given them a wee bit of a boost, and it's been positive so far.
Yeah, I do the same in our Super League team where I throw last but don't call the game. David Hay does that, and this is maybe a criticism of me because I don't warm up properly. But actually, I think by being involved in sweeping before I go to throw last, I'm probably more warmed up, even from a physical point of view. So I see that as being a benefit as opposed to me just being that skip and standing there being quite cold and then you go to throw a last one.
Yeah,
so,
you certainly can be cold, you know, and that certainly doesn't help your delivery or your slide. And yeah, even with a good warm up beforehand, when you're standing in the chilly temperatures that we get sometimes, then yeah, and I think that's a valid point, Alan. And there's nothing wrong with doing things a little bit differently than other teams. You know, I think you can get caught up with the skip always throws last stones, but that doesn't need to be the case. So.
Yeah, I always just refer people back to the fair before for that. You know, one of the best curling teams that's ever been around, and they threw in a different formation. So.
And multiple winners of the Perth Masters.
They are indeed, yeah.
So a little bit of pressure back onto Team Skasley and Team Rorvik, here, with 3 red counters, but they're all fairly open, so there won't be too much an issue here, but it might be a case that they'll be forced into taking a shot, although that's a nice almost roll. I think the guard's probably just maybe a couple of feet shorter than they would like, just to give a little bit of more protection to the shot in the house, but it's so they almost want to roll. If you're throwing half of the stone, you probably want to show it on the outside rather than the inside as they have here. This one is needing to draw, but they've come off the centre line quite well, and that was just a quieter weight that the sweepers were able to work with and manipulate a little bit better there.
Yeah, roll to the perfect spot too, because if Rorvik were just to ignore that and come round the corner guard that you were talking about, Mary, they wouldn't lie shot if they were fully buried in that situation. So.
And I think that would be a very, very aggressive call at this stage when you're lying three against in the house, to come round the guard that doesn't give them as much protection as they maybe would have liked. I don't think this team would make that call. So we'll see. Looking again, I think, for the hit and roll. Do Norway have a championship for, to see who goes to the World Championships, or is it a selected team?
It's selected, but again, they're championship, so take some consideration of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not a bad result for them at all. Doubled off the back stone and got the roll. Relatively easy or straightforward run back for Rebecca, but it still has to be played, so that was a good shot there. Started to move a little on them, but I think, yeah, that's a great result. They've kept 2 stone, 2 reds in the house and forced the issue again for back onto Team Rorvik.
Yeah, it might be the opportunity for them just to ignore them this time and try and get round the corner guard that they've got in play here.
I think so. They're both in the 12 foot, so be fairly confident of managing to outcount the stone there, and it would force Team Morrison to follow them down, and might give them something to work with if depending how it goes. So yeah, I think this is a shot we would play.
Yep.
Tror jeg- hvis vi
Sorry if
kan
you
la
heard
det
the
gå litt,
bleeping in the
så er det
background.
veldig
There's somebody
koselig, altså.
being called for their dinner at the cafeteria that's in full flow here this weekend. And
I can confirm it wasn't me.
oh,
There's no chips on their way. For us, that one.
Er litt slapp. Nei da. Bare fart. Nei, plass og
The
plass.
line of this stone looks
Aye.
really quite nice. I think if we can just get it to
Hardt
fully bury.
køll! Hardt køll, men det er
We're gonna have to work it just a little bit.
Ja, ganske bra. Ja.
Nicely placed stone. It's possibly a foot further than they want it to be, but it's behind the guard and
Ja.
forces
Ja.
Rebecca into playing the freeze, which is never the easiest of shots.
Hun kan få tak i den hvis hun vil. Ja, det tror jeg jo. Men hun... Ja, det er jo nesten den nissen
Maybe
jeg
have a wee
kjører på.
time on this one and see how the ice is running.
Ja. Skal det være litt teit, men jeg tenkte at jeg bør bare sette den. Ja, jeg skjønner. Nei. Ja. Ja. Drar frysen. Hvis hun ligger shot, så må vi ned og trykke litt grann på det da. Bare prøve å trykke den, så den gule vår fortsatt er bedre enn de to røde. Ja. Ja, det er veldig viktig.
so Mari, you're going to give us a hog-to-hog time here.
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Den er videre enn min, da.
And it's 50.9, so that is pretty quick for a stone that's made it into the top of the fourth, and it's
Prøve en
Yeah.
a well-placed stone.
Vil du
Perhaps
spille
gives
bare
them
hack på en måte, eller vil du
gives
spille
Christian Skazin a
gjennom?
chance to come down here at back 8 weight, just to tap that back and roll again slightly under the guard. Just didn't perfect weight, but it just didn't draw quite as much as they would have hoped. Oh, they're playing hack weight, which is maybe a little more than I would have.
Yeah, she only really needs to move it 2 feet, but
Yeah.
I suppose Skip's choice how they kind of see
Yep,
these.
yep.
So
Just needs to be a little more perfect then, doesn't it, with that kind of weight where, you know, if you tap it back, you're leaving a catcher even if you don't get the roll quite as you want. But yeah, as we say, it's most definitely what the skip feels comfortable playing. And hack weights, a manoeuvrable weight with the brushes nowadays, you know, they can carve or straighten it off if that's what's needed.
Ja!
little signal from the sweepers, the weight's up.
Yeah,
Ja!
looks a lot bigger than hack, but it's certainly drawing.
Hardt! Push! Hardt!
Great encouragement for the sweepers, but that has caught the. We may have quite a good result there. Well, it's not a good result, but it's perhaps a better result than it might have been, having caught the guard, went over, rubbed one of the red stones, and maybe lying third shot.
Bra forsøk.
If we got a sneaky wee overhead, we'd be able to tell, perhaps.
Yeah, Kristen was probably just a little bit tight away there,
Yeah.
and on that side of the centre line, it is just going to curl that little bit more, and Fortunately for her, caught the curl there and brought the guard into play. So. Team Morrison just trying to chat through what's the best option to try and make the force here.
Yeah, there'll be. It's really where the shooter's going to roll to is the concern here for Team Morrison, because they don't want to leave an easy double to allow Team Rorvik to come back with a 2. I think that back yellow definitely lies third shot.
Sorry,
so, this is the outcome here is quite important on where the shooter ends up. On its way and being swept early. Oh, do we think that red would go past the yellow? I would have thought it probably would.
Yeah, and don't need to bump the right one all too far to bring it into to be second shots. So can probably afford to hit this pretty thick and still make that double. So
yeah, certainly if they were if it was a clock face, anything past sort of half one there, they're okay, aren't they?
Yeah. Yep.
They could be too thin, and then
go the other way.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah.
This isn't a great opportunity that they'll have to go for. They're quite a comfortable hitting team, I would have said. So yeah. They'll often choose to play a hit rather than a kind of draw or a tap back if they can, so I'm sure this will be a comfortable shot for them.
So the double takeout attempt that's underway.
And the jam, so forced to the one, but just over curled on them a little.
It did. Maybe going across the face of it there, as much as it sounds a bit alien, might have just been the option there, and just try and catch it a little bit low. It just straightens up that one that you ultimately hit.
Yeah.
So anyway, good end there, and they probably had a little missed opportunity with Kristen's first one, where they had the opportunity with the hack weight there, just to try and tap and lie to, and ended up in the result of being forced to 1. So we're now completed the third end, and it's 2-1 to Morrison. So we'll just give you a little update on the scores on the other sheet. So on sheet B we had the all Scottish junior girls battle. Currently Thompson leads there 3 shots to 1 after 3 ends. On sheet C, we had Team Peterson against the Chinese ladies team, and it's currently 2-1 to Team Peterson there after 3 ends. And on the other all junior battle here, Scottish junior girls, it's Suter against Team GB Unigames girls, and a big 3 points for the Team GB. Team skipped by Laura Watt, taking 3 at the second end, and they lead 3-0. And Archibald going well here in this game, and they lead 2-0 on sheet F. And a tight game, as we thought it would be, between Henderson and Schwaller, and they've traded ones in the first end, first and second end, and a blank in the third, so it's 1 each in that game. So we're keeping a close eye on that one as well, Mary.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another one of the teams that have perhaps had the opportunity to play each other before, so they know how they're going to play, and an important. Both teams will be looking to have a wee edge here and get their noses in front, I think, on the win-loss record. So, yeah. Team Henderson and Team Morrison are kind of 2 top teams, I think, we could say, in the women's curling in Scotland, and obviously vying for selection for the World. So both teams looking to put in strong performances and score some valuable sort of points and just play well. Back underway again with the very short guard again from the Norwegian lead. She just hasn't quite had her weight this game at all, but there's time yet, and it's in play, so it's always an eye catcher later on in the end. Yeah, Team Morrison slipping behind the tee there. I don't think that would have quite been the plan, Alan, so it gives Team Rorvik an opportunity to come round and play top 4 or throw perhaps the second closer guard. The line is a little high at the moment, but certainly coming now, but just again not quite the weight that would have been looked for, but both guards are touching the centre line, which of course with the, call it a new rule, but it's probably been in play enough years now that it's not considered too new.
Yep.
But it just at least they both nibble the line there, which means that the opposition team can't move it with certainly this stone coming down.
Yeah, got those 2 lined up really quite nicely, but they probably just needed to be, both 3 or 4 feet closer to the house in terms of just a really good position. So,
Sophie Jackson's second stone here. The weight looking good, but just struggling a little bit with the line. So it's not quite hidden behind those guards, and gives a hack weight or backring opportunity to come round, tap it back, gives those lovely catchers that we like in the back of the 8 foot perhaps, and yeah. So this is more like a kind of end that we thought we'd see with plenty stones in play, guards on. Caught out just a little with the line, and even though the weight was certainly possibly even less than expected, it just didn't come enough for them, so they've tapped the red. It is behind the tee, so it gives them an opportunity that they can perhaps freeze to it again, but it's certainly a big opportunity now for Team Jackson to make a nice hit and roll and kind of cut down the room that Team Rorvik are going to have to try and get into to freeze the.
Again, just interesting conversation as we made a little bit of reflection of frame of mind of where they're at. They're worried about these 2 centre guards that are quite lined up, and and if ever Team Rorvik gets something behind that double those double centres, it's problems for Team Morrison. So they're looking at the option of just peeling the guard or playing the hit and roll as you suggested, Mary. So,
it's absolutely, whatever, how you feel, how they want, their plan for the end. I mean, to me, again, these guards are very long. They shouldn't really cause them too many issues at the end of the day. And for me, I think if you could make that hit and roll, put all of the pressure onto Team Rorvik. Okay, you're maybe playing slightly against the natural way to play when you've got last stone again, but you would have 3 stones, 2 of them in the biting the 4 foot and 1 sort of top of the 8 foot. So we've gone for the guards. So
ouch.
Yeah, that would not be how they would have liked that one to pan out, and really a bad result for sure. Marianne taking no time to decide that this is a golden opportunity now to get round that. The way that one jammed, it's right on the tee line. If they can pull another one round to top 4 or even freezing it, Team Morrison are going to have to go after the guards again. It's a free opportunity to try and guard. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. But that certainly was an unfortunate result for Team Morrison.
Yeah, how one shot can change an end here, and a big chance here for the Norwegians now just to really turn the pressure on and lock one on here.
And they have done that quite nicely. It'll be interesting to see how the second half of the end pans out, but that was, I think, a golden opportunity for Team Morrison to really turn the screw, put a bit of pressure onto the Norwegians, and now it's all on them. So the double rip attempt on its way.
A little high.
Yeah, so just a single. And the Norwegians coming round again.
Yeah, they know the line down here now, so just another one even locked on, or just top 12, somewhere around there.
It's a late draw, isn't it? Because the stone sitting just high the tee line there was really fully on the other side of the centre line as it came into the house, and it has finished. All of its drawing was in the last 6 feet or so. So interesting to see. It's crucial you get the weight right for where you're, to judge the curl. Indication there that perhaps we've got plenty room. But if the weight's right, it will take that draw at the end. But it's crucial that the weight is right.
He's absolutely on it again, so lined them up. So yeah, from one poor shot and maybe a poor shot selection from Team Morrison here, this end's completely turned around. So
yeah, I mean, a good shot here could certainly drive the yellow into the pack there. You're driving in a yellow, so if it happens to stick, then you may be getting rid of 2, but you're leaving a yellow, and you might leave the guard if you're trying to do the kind of raise. But this looks like it's just going to clear the guards and roll away. So a guard on the
World Curling logo somewhere in that sort of spot.
Seems like maybe a fraction less ice, but we'll see. Definitely a tighter line here. So depending where this is looking to stop,
Stopp da!
slightly
Fader.
over curled.
Yeah, maybe just half a stone over curl there.
Sure.
So
Sorry.
I think
Fin fart da!
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you play the stones in the house. You might get rid of
Trodde var fin is, ja.
a couple. You might get rid of all three, I guess. But you're leaving that the guard. It's certainly a good situation for Team Rorvik at the moment to be looking to force or steal. It's not currently looking like a multiple score for Team Morrison.
so here comes Jen Dodds with a high hard one here. Caught that pretty thin. Got them all moving, but
Yeah.
just
It's
one away.
it's opened up the button for, at the end of the day, if Rebecca has to make a draw, then the button would be there
At hun
for
kommer
her,
ikke til å gå på
depending
den, så vi drar rundt der, ja.
where the guard is placed here.
Ok.
Do you choose to come round the same way you've been drawing and accept that you've left the wide side of those stones in the house available, but you are cutting down the chance of reaching the button there? Looks to be what they're thinking.
Tror vi kan dra hit også. Da stikker
Guess if you're
den.
forcing Team Morrison to hit the wide
Andra
side,
hit!
they're never,
Andra hit!
they're going to roll open, or there's going to be a shot for you. So I think I would be tending to play down the hand that they've been playing, taking a little more ice again. So it might just be that slight difference in throw between Kristen and Marianne.
Lite ut.
Yeah, if they can. Probably the perfect spot is just to get round or just sort of past the end of curling, really on the Perth curling logo. So that makes it really, really tough for Team Morrison, even if they do play a play on the outside on the clockwise intern side. So
Yeah, then it would possibly, they'd get a jam or they'd get something, and then they'd be able to throw a guard or a protecting stone. But yeah,
Ok.
all down to the waiting line again.
Og la den jobbe litt. Helt vekk da.
Line looks
Helt vekk, Isotte.
high at the moment,
Helt vekk, må bare stoppe.
and the weight
Ok, stopper den foran 10 i det hele
certainly
tatt.
all there.
Bak 10, dra den hit, da kanskje den kommer til å fryse på den. Nei, bare la den gå. Frys vi oppå.
I think if they were going to sweep that, it possibly needed sweep
Rammelt.
earlier to make sure that
yeah.
it was right back, because they've left a real little nest here for Rebecca to freeze one in there, and while it wasn't looking like a multiple score, it potentially gives up the opportunity that it could be. But it's a big call, isn't it? You're tempted to think, oh, do I try and come with a little bit of weight and make sure I'm getting rid of something where the dead freeze is a tricky.
yeah, it's a difficult situation here. If they come down and actually play the bump, then Team Rorvik could use the clockwise turn and play the bump. So
Yes. I think, I think maybe just go with the straight freeze.
Mer.
Yep.
It's the harder
Hvis hun gjør det hun skal
shot
nå, hvis
potentially
hun
that
dytter
gives you
sjøl litt, da.
the better result, I think.
Så er jo den ikke, altså, kan spille 5 nå, liksom, på den. Det er jo, den ligger fint. Nei?
Still discussing this, so
Hvis
you
hun
know,
dør,
we always say as well, if you're way down the other end of the ice with a little bit of indecision about the shot you're playing, that's never the most comfortable situation to be in. You really need, as a skip, to be, and as any player, to be 100% committed to the shot that you're playing, while you always would then, once it's on its way, make sure you're getting an option B. If you have too many options in your head, you're making none of them, 100%. So sweepers are thinking that their weight is needing a little help. The line certainly looks great.
Så jeg skal koste gul inn, det.
That's exactly
Det er jo fristende å
where
glede
we
på den
wanted
her.
it.
Du spiller 11, eller du må her?
Slight bump, so the shot that you talked about is there. It would mean that Rebecca would have the same shot again.
Just for
for
one,
one.
yeah.
Må treffe her!
I think it would be very difficult to make this yellow stick
Har du så mye? Ja, ja.
on the wall.
Ok, vi må treffe her! 11! Sånn, eller?
Yeah, the overcurl of the guard, played by Marion Rorvik, just opened the door, and then Kristen was a little heavy with her.
As you said, just gave Jennifer Dodds the opportunity to, to come down and just move the angles round and just increase that scoring zone. So. So let's see what kind of weight Kristen's going to throw at this. A little bit control about it and just make sure she makes contact with the yellow. And the rest will take care of itself, really.
Yeah, I guess she could choose to kind of go into the pocket between the two to make sure that rather than be ultimately focused on hitting the red first, that might give you a better situation for the stone you're driving in. Actually, that was a poor.
Probably came flying at it a little bit more than I thought she was. I thought she would have maybe just played a little bit more control there.
Yeah. And from not looking like a multiple score for, well, half of the end, it looks like it's a fairly straightforward throw the same shot again and Team Morrison will score 2.
So here's Rebecca making the draw attempt for 2 here.
Yeah, they're working pretty hard, but it looks good.
Absolutely perfect, Mary, and they make a good draw there for 2, and
made a 2 from absolutely nothing there. I think Team Rorvik should be quite disappointed with the second half of that end to not force or steal. They were in a great situation when the rip of the guards went completely awry for Team Morrison, but that was 2 great stones from Rebecca and made the skips 2 there, so that will give them a lot of confidence going forward. But yeah, Team Rorvik really gave up a lot of chances there.
So Team Morrison take control of this game, and at the halfway stage they're leading 4-1.
Ja. Skal vi bare varme opp skipperen litt sånn? Skal vi se.
Just looking across some of the other scores, and the Thompson-Laurie battle on sheet B, it's currently 2-1 to Thompson. Thompson with hammer in the 5th end.
3-2.
3-2, sorry, yeah. And on sheet E, again the other junior battle, it's Team GB Unigames team against Team Suitor. So yeah, Team GB team have a pretty convincing lead there. They lead 6-1 at the halfway stage. And it's a tied game on sheet F between Polly Ascot and Team Archibald. And in the other battle we have between Schwaller and Henderson on sheet G. Team Schwaller have taken a big 2 at the fourth end, and they currently lead 3-1 at the halfway stage.
I think another game that's going to be really interesting is the Peterson China game. Peterson has the very experienced head of Cathy Overton Clapham playing on their team this weekend, and that will bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to their side, which they've gone really well so far in their early games. So they're obviously enjoying being here and enjoying the ice, but Team China are putting up a good fight here too, so it's a close game there with Peterson leading 2-1 at the moment, but the Chinese lying well. So getting our focus back onto our sheet D game, we've got corner guard back in play and one just sitting behind the tee for Team Morrison, so they'll be looking to put a shorter stone in the rings perhaps. Nice stone there from Sophie, and on this occasion Marianne's choosing to ignore. She tried the hit and roll in an earlier end, but she's just going for the straight draw this time, which I think is probably more sensible option at this stage. Sweeper's having to work it pretty hard though, for weight rather than line, but get a little fighter, but actually gives them the double guard, which they'll look to make use of. That's not too bad, because again the first guard was a little shorter than they probably would have wanted, so that gives them an ideal situation with the two corners staggered well behind each other.
Yeah, good error to have was just to be short in that situation and create the double guard. So it'll be the centre guard attempt here from Sophie Sinclair. Try and get all these three reds lined up. Probably somewhere on this World Curling logo around there will be what they're trying to get to.
Might just over curl for them a little, or actually it's not too bad. Slightly over on over curl does give the opportunity of the bump and roll.
Yeah, again probably the error was to show them the outside edge really there and bite a little bit of the centre line. So just over curled and brought this tough hit and roll. It is a tough hit and roll to make that absolutely perfectly over there.
And while hack weight is, I think it's the right weight to play, it does mean that your contact has to be exactly where you want it to make sure you're going to get enough of a roll at the down weight of hack. Barrier gives you a little bit more margin for error, but not when you can't see the whole stone. A little bit. Certainly moving now, Alan. They were, I think, initially looking to make that stone bend, but after it started to take the draw, it certainly pulled towards the centre for them.
So it's kind of rolled a bit to no man's land. So Team Morrison will try and make the roll back to the same spot or thereby.
Yeah, getting higher all the time, I guess, towards the top of the house, which might give Team Rorvik the chance to draw around it, maybe to freeze on the one on just behind the tee line. Sweeping hard again to try and get that roll. Yeah, and just
Yeah, rolled perfectly behind the guard this time, but as you say, it does bring up the option of the freeze or the bump on the one that's at the back of the tee.
yeah, they're electing to go for the guard, which totally understandable, but you're then relying on your opposition not getting their next guard in the place that they want it, and I think that at this kind of level you maybe have to do a little more than just peel guards and hope that the next one
rulla liksom litt kort da. Til å fryse shot, så den burde kanskje flyttes. Bedre å kjappe på en måte enn å...
Either or would be good in this
So there are
situation.
options. I just feel that moving the guard here doesn't give you great options. Are you going to get into the house?
Nei, det har ingenting å si.
I don't think so. But yeah. You drive it in and lift.
Den får kontakt med den!
It's a good result.
Gå utenfra!
Yeah, looks like it's the drive the guard back option that they've decided upon. Looks like peel weight coming down here.
Ja! Nei! Ja! Fader, det var en millimeter unna.
It moves things around, but
Centimeter unna.
really makes great difference to the
Ja.
situation
den, da.
at the centre of the house.
Dra hun ned.
No,
think
real.
that's
Tror jeg
like
vi nesten må smelle garden på.
Yeah, just something a little bit more aggressive there. The only benefit now they have is that if they're running again, it's one of their own counters. They're running back now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ja, det ruller.
And I think at 4-1 down, you've got to read the scoreboard as well. You know, you're 4-1 down, you're already in the second half of the game. Just maybe need to try something maybe a little bit more.
Ser veldig løs ut, da. Spørsmålet om vi må begynne å dra, men jeg vet ikke helt om hvordan vi får mer enn én eller én ut av det.
The house there and it's got close, which stops the drive in. But
Er det noen muligheter for å... Ja, det ligger en dobbelt på de. Så vi bare fjerner gardene. Har vi noe... Er det lunsj å fjerne den veien? Kanskje vi får flytta shotten litt, eller?
Very good spot. Just took off the
Prøve å ta den i den, liksom?
any
Ja.
kind of real drive on the front yellow one of any meaning, as much as they can still play that. But
they're not, now they're looking to
vi må
catch it
prøve
high
å
to then
flytte noe på
try and
midten
catch
der.
the red to
Ja.
drive that back in, but
Gul, halvtreff gul i oversiden og rød.
it's advantage.
Vi skal i hvert fall få flytta
Morrison
vekk
is
shotten
here, I would
litt.
say.
Da tror jeg den går
very
ned.
much so.
Så jeg treffer tynt nok.
Well, we've seen in previous ends, one shot can change these ends.
Absolutely.
So, yep.
Yeah, almost every end has turned, hasn't it? On a single, maybe a strange call or a well played, well executed shot.
Ja! Hardt! Hardt! Kom igjen, Kristian! Hardt! Helt ut! Helt ut!
That was the shot they called and played it absolutely perfectly. So,
Sånn skal vi
great
gjøre.
shot.
So
Sånn
from
skal vi gjøre.
looking like advantage Morrison, we're a very
Bra,
open house
Bra,
again, which suits Team
Vi får
Rorvik.
jo... Sundre har nå. Ja, vi får jo toeren ved å dra rundt
They've
gardene.
got triple corner guards here, so they're just looking for an opportunity to try and use these and somehow either you could draw straight there or try and play a hit and roll off something.
Team Morrison looking to come to the back quarter away from those guards.
Ellers må vi fryse den.
Line's looking not too bad, but Weight certainly more T-line than back 8 foot.
Enten så drar vi
Do you
hit,
Team Rorvik
ja, ellers så fryser vi
come
der.
round those guards and ignore that one currently, or? I think you maybe have to, if you're going to use those guards, you've got to try and make a play on
Jeg
for
rygger
them
en
now.
dobbelt på de. Det er sant, det. Tror jeg må innsida av linja.
To outcount the
Her. Det er ikke så mye margin
red
på å
in
dra
the
toeren, men jeg tror vi må dra toeren nå, altså.
top 12 foot,
Ja.
they can get there, but they'll not want to come
På
too deep.
helhjemme, men
They'll
Yeah.
want to just bite the top of the 8 foot, do you think, round the guards?
jeg tror akkurat ikke bite 8 fot,
Yeah,
så
it's
er
so
den
easy
god.
just to get a little bit over curl there, and it looks a good shot because it's buried behind the
tror det
guards,
drar
but
bra når
actually
den
becomes
krysser linja.
third shot. And
Bare hvis vi kan la den gå litt, så er det sikkert.
Yeah, to be of any use, you would think at the end of the end it's going to have to sit second.
yep. So it looks like the draw attempt. That's what they've called.
It's a big weight adjustment having thrown the high hard one with our first one, so
Bra
This is
linje!
curling
Bare
early.
fart!
sweepers are on it. Probably for weight
Kom igjen!
and
Kom igjen,
maybe more for
curl,
weight
curl,
than
curl!
anything else at the
Curl,
moment.
curl, curl, curl! Mer, mer! Curl! Curl, 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 curl! Curl! Bra, Gustav.
It's probably not a bad spot there, Mari. If anything, maybe just need to curl a little bit more.
Yeah.
Nesten, da.
Yeah, but it's
Det er sånn de kommer, og så står de litt, og så
it's exactly where they would have wanted it in
får tak i den,
terms
så
of
får vi surre i midten.
length, but yeah, a couple inches to the right would have been preferred.
Hele veien, stakkars.
Team Morrison are going to have to make a play on it, and we've seen a couple of
Ja,
the
det
shots.
var kanskje bare å få litt lengde.
If you play an up weight,
Ja,
you won't take quite the curl, or if you start it early, then
jeg
It
måtte
goes,
legge
yeah.
tora, da.
they're really going to pull.
Den får jeg vel
So
tak
not,
i.
not totally straightforward, but I think Rebecca will see half,
Så de har vel
maybe,
ikke bomma så mye.
of this stone.
Foran her, så blir det ikke Rebecca har ikke bomma en stein, eller? Den driver litt inn og slipper det, så den får litt sånn her banan.
Stone's on its way in there,
Enten akkurat
looking
ikke
fairly
banan.
comfortable with the line. Yeah, nice controlled weight there to play. I think perfect choice of weight.
Jeg har jo ikke noe annet.
It's always a good sign when you hear the straight curl as the girls are coming down there in terms of the line calls. It usually means it's going to be pretty close.
Ja, men det er jo hvis du drar en perfekt frys, da, så
Yeah, you're
kanskje
always
den
quite
vil
quite
ligge.
comfortable when you're sweeping. When you hear a yes, no, it's a nice situation to be. So Kristen electing to play the freeze here, which I think that's probably the option she has to go for with her first, and her weight was pretty good in the last one, maybe a couple of inches, 3 inches further than it needed to be, but she certainly, she knows the weight, so she should be there or thereabouts.
Nei, hold i gang! Hold i gang! Kølle mye
On
over
its
linja!
way.
Gjerne linje! Bra linje! OK, hold!
Line is certainly getting better.
Oi, køll! Marginen har
Just maybe fully there for weight on its own.
Yeah, just a little heavy.
Team Morrison they've played this end really well. I think we haven't seen too many loose shots from them, and that's resulted in the fact that, you know, Kristen's going to be facing at least 3, probably 4 red counters when she comes to play.
Yeah, I think the Norwegians may just missed a little trick there, you know, with trying to run the guard, and, you know, the second player's stones there, and there's a bit of an opportunity when, you know, they were back tee or the chance just to try and throw a slightly more aggressive call there and lock one in there and ask something a little bit more challenging and technical than they maybe did of Team Morrison. So
I think so. I think that's where they're, you know, if you get the mistake, then yeah, fine. But, you know, you've got to assume that your opposition are going to make their shots, and Team Morrison have, and have played the end very well.
Yep.
Put the stones where they wanted them.
Not a lot more confidence about them today, anyway. So good shot, Rebecca. Just making sure that one disappears and leave the Norwegians facing 4 red counters.
And, you know, down this line, they know if they throw a little bit of weight, it might hang on them if they choose to play the out turn. If she goes for the draw, she throws the same weight again, she would be absolutely fine. But, you know, a half pound more, you're too heavy, take too much off because you thought, well, I was fully there the first time. So this is, you know, they're obviously having a discussion about it. So Kristen Skasland's not feeling confident about what she wants to play here.
Nope.
So they've elected to play the hit.
The bump on the nose.
And this should be straightforward, but yeah, there's always the chance of it running a little straight or getting more draw than you expect. So I don't think I'd be updating the scoreline just quite yet, Alan. Both teams seem to take quite a while in the hack, don't they?
Yeah. There's a lot of teams that have now started their 6th end. In fact, I think everybody else has. I think we're probably a little bit of the tail here.
And they're certainly trying to make this one curl, but that's done the job successfully. So a 1 for Team Rorvik.
Yep, safely make the nose hit, and it's a 1 to Team Rorvik. And conclusion of the 5th end, and Morrison take a pretty positive 4-2 lead with hammer here, Mari. So
they'll be quite comfortable, I think. They're controlling the one end where they were in a lot of bother. They managed to actually turn around and score a 2. So they'll be feeling pretty confident here that if they can score, even if they were forced, that keeps the scoreboard ticking over in their favour. So I think they'll be fairly relaxed here, trying to look to play a openish game, but take their chances again in the ends where they have done previously.
So a quick update on another couple of scores. So Team Henderson got 2 back at the 5th end there, and tied that game up 3 each after 5 ends. So yeah, it's kind of living up to our billing of it being a bit of a battle, that one. The game between Team Suitor and Team GB Unigame Girls. Team GB Uni Girls took a pretty assailable lead there at 6-1 after the fourth end, but Suter bounced back there with a 3 of their own to close the gap to being 2 down there. So the score is 6-4 after 5 ends. And in the game between China and Team Peterson, there's been a bit of a run of scores for the Chinese women's team there. So from being 2-0 down, they now lead 4-2 after 5 ends. So some really tight games out there, Mary.
There are, yeah, and it's obviously we can't see too much of what's going on when you're focused on the one game, but I'm sure the spectators here are being spoiled for choice with lots of games that they're, when you look across, there are stones in play, there are nice tap backs and come arounds being played. So yeah, there's great viewing for the people who've ventured into the ice rink today, and obviously for those who can't get in, then we're providing an online service which hopefully is giving them a flavour and keeping them involved with the Perth Masters.
Absolutely. Hopefully you're enjoying the coverage here that we're being able to bring you from Dewar Centre in Perth here. I'd like to just do a little shout out for our sponsors. So Mercure Perth Hotel, our major sponsor. We're fully indebted to their continued support, being with us as a partner in delivering the event for many years now, and we're being hosted there this evening for dinner. So Scottish Deer Centre, thank you for your continued support. A sponsor that's recently come on board, and if you've not been down there, get yourself down there. Good fun day out. You can check them out on the website. So yeah. You going to the dinner tonight, Mary?
Not tonight, Alan. But I'm sure it's always a fun evening, and you're well fed by the Mercure, and the staff there are always handy. And if you need a lift home, then it would always be an A&B taxis that you would call, I should think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So back here into the 6th end, and Team Rorvik have got 2 centre guards up, but again, probably not got brilliant placement with these, Mary.
Yeah, I think that's been certainly every end. They've just not quite got the setup that they've been looking for, and Sophie Jackson has been playing really well. She's been allowed to, find her weight, and she's been popping the first stone in and another one on top of it. On this occasion, a little shorter maybe than she would have wanted to be, but Team Rorvik's lead has just not had control of the weight today, and 100% putting the stones where they wanted. So that has made it quite difficult,
Yep.
I think, for the Norwegians to actually dictate play, because they're always trying to just catch up on the fact that the end hasn't started how they would have wished. But you get games like that, and it's torturous when you're the player that's thinking, oh, is that a little bit more, but yeah, so maybe just a bad game, and hopefully she'll be back on form in the future games. So they've elected to come round here, and we're going to end up, I think, maybe with another one a little short, or it's just going to catch the guard. So it's there to be used, but probably more guards than Team Morrison would like at the moment.
Yep, this all-important 6th end. A lot of us continue to talk about it. Just important to score here for Team Morrison. So even if it's just a 1, it's in terms of the game state, it's a good percentage that they'll run out and win the game from that point. So yeah, I think carting a few of the guards there was definitely the right call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's opened things up a little. The way they're sitting now, the centre line is clear, so even if Team Norway get the chance to come round that yellow guard, there is going to be an opportunity to either come round, or if the button's left available, then you can make
Linja er
your
god på!
one.
Linja er fin! Alt imot! Over og av! Over og av! Ren. Jeg begynte å køle mye mer enn jeg gjorde for et par omganger siden. Åja, ok. Jeg kølte jo mer enn dragene,
Successful
liksom.
centerline guard there, but
Nei, det er helt greit å
Morrison, I
lyse
think, will
senter.
look to again move more than one of these
Om jeg
guards.
må prøve å dra en gard også. Trenger å stjele. Vi har jo vært på noen garder, da.
That's a shot that the younger teams, I guess, have really worked on, and a single peel, you know, of a guard now is quite commonplace, and the multiple peels are made much more frequently than they were back in my day.
Yeah, we were just talking about that watching Team Suter this morning, and actually just the positive intent of actually calling those shots now and just committing to throwing them with a bit of weight and more often than not making them now.
Yeah.
So no, it was brilliant to see. So.
The game just continues to change and evolve, doesn't it? You know, and the different rules that have come in have made that necessary. You know, when we started playing, there was no such thing as a free guard, so
No.
you know that came into play and changed the game. And then obviously the tick shot became so well executed, and it was now we've got the no tick on the centre guard, the centre line. You know, the players have to develop more strengths and skills, and now the double rep and more, you know, moving 3 and 4 stones with 1 stone is commonplace when now. So it's really it's great to see how the game that we still love and love to play continues to change and develop after hundreds of years really of being played, isn't it? It's fab.
Ice conditions too, probably another common factor
Of
that is probably
course,
much improved
yeah.
from disrespect to the ice crew and maybe the old centre and Dunkeld Road, but probably slightly improved conditions.
You know,
So.
the technology they had to work with. You
Yep.
know, so you know the big massive hose that used to do the pebbling. You know, and the machines that they have to cut the ice. It all just continues to move forward and develop. But yeah, I think the ice that we played on back in the day was a far cry from what we're playing on now.
Very much so.
Shoes are faster, super. Everything just moves on, doesn't it? But us old buffers can still play away and enjoy the game. So it's a terrific game that we've got children playing under 14s competitively. We've got OAPs playing well into their 70s, 80s, and everything in between. You know, it's a game that really has a lot to offer all ages and stages. So long may that continue. So from a fairly busy front section of the ice that's now cleared up again, and Team Rorvik are not got many places to hide here, so.
Nei, gard på verste. Jeg tror vi må dra en gard på verste. Skal vi diskutere hva vi gjør på gressin sin? Vi må spille på Morrison. Litt lenger. Dora!
So yeah, if you want to get involved in curling, go on to trycurling.com. It's a great website full of useful information, and you can log on there and see if there's a try curling session that's at a venue near you in Scotland. So
Da må vi kanskje
Or
slå
pop
på
down
neste.
to your local ice rink. There's always a friendly face to be found, and we'd happily welcome as many new curlers to our wonderful sport as we can. So yeah, please give it a try if you haven't done so before.
Ja. Gå utenfra eller innenfra?
Single rip of the
Du har
guard
ikke slått
there,
noen
successful
veier her,
made. So
egentlig?
down to
Ja,
skip
vi har slått
stones,
der,
and
ja.
do you
Sånn, vanlig.
choose to play the hit and roll, try and get something behind your guard there? You don't really want to gamble and leave the red bear to, if you can force the one here, there's still a chance.
Yep.
But you don't want to be losing a multiple score, I don't think, if you're Team Rorvik at this point playing the sixth end.
I think they've elected to play the big roll here and hit and roll off this one. So Team Rorvik from the Lillehammer Curling Club. Lots of good teams coming out in Norway at the moment, and they've got a really good, a great programme going on there at Lillehammer.
Which is great. They've always had strong individual teams, but often the sort of strength and depth wasn't there. So it's good that their programme is bringing multiple teams forward now. Just rolling a little too far off that one, but I guess you had to be rolling, so they had to make sure they were catching it on the side of the stone that they wanted to there.
So let's see the frame of mind of Team Morrison here. Is it the complete risk-free call and peel the guard? I think it possibly is.
Yeah, I mean they may well think retaining the hammer's a strong position to be in. We were both thinking that even a score of 1 here is not a disaster, but if you have the chance to retain the hammer and maybe try and build again for year 2, and even in the odd end of 7, you would go 6-2 up, then you're looking pretty good. So
Yep.
taking no chances here. Well executed shot there, so Team Rorvik are just going to have to throw one in the house and hope for the best. Yeah, I think this game would move along a little quicker if there were time clocks. I think it's just...
Yeah. It's been a little bit pedestrian.
14-3. 14-3. Ja. Bra.
This one's going to stop in time. So I'm sure Rebecca won't be upset either way, really, here. The blank or take the one, really.
Excuse me. Yeah, the main objective definitely to make that yellow go away.
Ja, og så en igjen, da.
What happens with the shooter?
Jeg vet ikke, jeg har ikke lest reglene. Jeg tror det er en ekstra, og så er det shootout hvis det ikke blir poeng ekstra.
There's been some moves on the other games which will be interesting for you to report when we
Jeg
Yes.
mener, jeg mener.
get to the end of this end. The business end of the games are all kind of well underway now.
So coming down
Definitely
here,
looking like the blank.
safely done by Rebecca, and retains the hammer into the 7th end with a 2-point lead. So yeah, as Mari said, a couple of updates from some of the other sheets. So China against Team Peterson is now all tied, playing the 7th end, four shots each, 2 points back there for in the 6th end, tied that game up. So China ladies have the hammer in the 7th. And in the battle between Team Suter and Team GB Uni Games women's team, Team Suter clawed back another one there at the 6th end, so they've closed the gap to 1 point and currently trail 5-6 to Laura Watt's team from Team GB Uni team. So a close battle there at the end, and on the battle on the end sheet here on sheet G between Schwaller and Henderson, a steal actually by Team Henderson in the 6th end to go 4-3 up. So another tight battle there.
Rett frem, kølle sidelengs!
And it looks like the game on sheet F is just come to a conclusion there, which I think it might well be a win for Team Polansket against Team Archibald. We're just waiting for them to put a score up, just to let us know what the score was in the 7th end.
Oh, a big 3.
And it was 3 points, so that was a win there for the ladies there, the Lithuanian ladies team there of 7-3, the final score. So back to our feature game.
Yeah, and we've got, again, the woes for the Norwegian lead continue with it may have been called, so I didn't see the call. They may have called a very short guard, and now they'll be looking to put, I think, the close guard on, but it's allowed Sophie Jackson to draw around, not probably where she would have preferred to be in the back of the forefoot there, but we'll see how the Norwegian lead replies to that one.
Yeah, we kind of said this. I mean, the long guard's fine in terms of being the long one, but yeah, I think this one again just probably just needs to be past the World Curling logo
I think so,
on that sort of line.
Between the World
So,
Curling and the
yep.
house, that one they would have been looking to put that one closer. It is touching the centre line again, which we spoke about earlier, how crucial that is, but it's really far too short. Sophie gets a chance to come round and cover the top of the 4, I would think, with this one.
Yeah, it's the stage of the game where the girls just need to be dialed into, some split times on, on some of these draws. The weights can start to just come down a little bit. So
yeah, we'll maybe get the wee
do
timer
a
out
little
again.
wee timer.
How we're going.
So another score to update you on was the all junior battle on sheet B, which was Thompson against Laurie. So a big 3 points from Team Laurie in the 6th end, and they take a 5-4 lead in that game.
There was me that missed a start, so we won't be getting time on this. That was a great time to take a 3 when in the 6th end, when you've been trailing all game.
Yeah, yep. So it looks like it's going to be a close battle to the end, that one.
Good weight there for Team Rorvik, but just not quite the line.
So Yeah, it's the same discussion again about whether they're playing the double peel or trying to bump the one in the rings, but it looks like it's the double peel that's the call.
Well, they've stuck with their game plan. That's the way they've approached it from end one, really. I might have been tempted. But yeah, so that has changed.
It's changed the colours, but very little, isn't it? So, yeah.
Jeg tror ikke vi kommer i luka her.
Yeah, I quite like
Men
taking
prøv å
the
tappe denne her.
opportunity to force the issue, but I totally accept I'm very old school
Kommer
and
til den sida.
they're up in the game, they want to protect the leads. But with
Ja,
us
liksom,
stone back
kanskje
of the
sånn,
floor,
da.
one bite in the top of the 8, if they've made a nice little hit and roll there, difficult. Anyway, we'll see how that shuffles out.
Jeg tror ikke du kommer liksom, for du må over nesa, ellers så dobler det bare rett av. Nei? Ja, du tenker rundt på innen? Ja. Ja. Nå knapp. Ja.
A bit of discussion going on.
Ja.
They're just
Okay, bak
going to
fire
throw
da.
the clockwise draw here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's certainly, there's room, isn't there, to
Yep.
finish round the stone in the top of the 12 foot and then let Team Morrison worry about doing something with a yellow that's sitting just high of the 4 on the other side. Oh, I could endeavour again to get a time.
Did you catch it that time, Mary?
I did not.
Linja OK, OK. Curlisen er lang da.
So we're looking for the L or the I of curling in Perth Curling logo.
Hardt curl, hardt curl.
It's a little
Curl,
high.
curl, curl, curl. Curl, 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 curl. Okay.
I guess I'm a little bit kind of, so that was always heavy. How much carving were you actually going to be able to do? So are you better just to try and let the stone stop?
I think when it's so far far back, it probably wasn't going to have much impact. in terms of doing that.
So the kind of 6 or so feet of sweeping would have maybe dragged it on a little further. So, how much?
Actually, on the reel, if you're really carving it, actually probably slowing the speed of it down a little bit, so you're almost
So you
helping
think
it.
it
So,
is
so
worth
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Nå må jeg dra en gard da. Nå vil dra gardet første gang.
That was a quick turnaround. so
Yeah,
that we've,
Jennifer Dodds made light work of the guards there.
Did jam a yellow into the top 12.
Jeg må kanskje gå den veien der. Det er litt å gå på mekøls. Det er lettere mekøls enn mot. Oi.
Third stones if we
Ja.
get another guard
Akkurat
on
krysse
here.
centerline, så vi garder litt den gule.
This is being worked hard. Certainly won't want it to be drawing much once they're over the centre.
Garda den gule. Garder den gule da.
Yeah, possibly overcurled a little, or do you think that's where they would have been looking for it to be?
I suppose just straight guarding the
Yellow.
yellow was objective number 1. So
Blir garden min i
Team
kølsen,
Jackson
kaster det
sorry,
vel
Team Morrison are just having a discussion about how they're looking to peel this guard. Looks like it's just the single peel they've called. Just make the guard go away. No mistake there from Jennifer Dodds.
Yeah.
Det litt mer, så slipper den bitte litt mer fart, eller? Ja.
Card
Litt lenger ut.
Yeah. A wider line this time.
Kom igjen, Eileen.
They could just get to the other side of the centre line. I think that's probably a more useful
Litt mer.
spot. Slightly further up the sheet. And
Yep, again, probably just on the World Curling logo, and that same line would have been pretty
Håper du
nice.
slår ruller inn, for da må vi fryse den baki der. Ja. De bremser litt på den siden. Ja. Ja, ja. Ja. Neste håp vårt er vel at hun slår og ruller, for da kan vi komme til frys på den bak. Å ja, hvis hun bare tar
a bit
garden
of
nå.
discussion here. Wonder if we can.
Slår vi da, prøver vi å doble de to for å ligge 3 og force, og så ta 3 i siste.
Ja, eller har fått 2 bommer da, på de siste,
Vi har ikke bomma hittil, da. Nei.
som alternativ er å første ruta. Da må jeg helt vært her, for det bare
Ja, litt. Da er det lettere å doble nesten. Touch high side liksom bare. Vi må henge igjen, da. Så margin er vel egentlig akkurat, ja.
Looks like the straight peel again, Mari, doesn't it? So.
Så er det frysen da.
Ja, men da tror jeg hun bare smeller alt inn. Den er kanskje beste callen vår, da. Eller om det er for sent på en måte, da, frysen. Ja. Oi. Ja, ok. Nå, vi har ikke sånn... Ja. Ja. Det er her for å prøve å force.
Okay, so that
Hvis
worked
det
out
gjelder, så må vi dra senter.
really
Hvis vi
well
drar
for,
senter, hun tar senter, vi kjapper den. Så
sort of danger shot.
det er ikke noe vits å dra hit, hun drar jo
Shot before
lokket
foot
for
and
en.
guard
Så da er det jo like lett å bare slå den.
Well, teams guys
Ja.
and Rorvik,
Ja, ja.
I should say, have
Da synes
options
jeg vi skal
here
gjøre det
with
nå. Ja.
their slightly shorter yellow that's in the house. It's draw round being called, but it's yeah, the whole of the forefoot's going to be open
Yeah.
for Rebecca either way.
And that was the intent of the Team Morrison, was just to keep the front open, and they're committed to that.
Du er sikker på hvor mye det har kørt? Litt mer, synes jeg. Enda mer? Ok.
So just a small update in a couple of other games. The Schwaller-Henderson game, it was a 1 for Team Schwaller in the 7th end, and that game's tied up 4 each, playing the 8th. Henderson have hammer.
Team China took a 2 in the 7th, which lets them, they're 2 up playing the last end now, but without hammer.
Ok. Ok. Vil
So
gjerne gå
we're
linje
on our
hvis
way
vi
in
kan.
the sweepers again,
Okay.
not having to do
Ok, vi må
any
nesten gå
work
linje.
here for Kristian's
Kort
draw.
linje!
She's tended to
Kort! Nei,
just
er forbi, er forbi!
overthrows a little, but this one looks like it's got nice weight. Is it gonna? Again, maybe just that six inches too heavy,
Yeah.
a foot too heavy.
Find the perfect line though, that's fully
Yep.
buried. So.
I think force isn't really good enough for them here. I think they needed to get a steal.
Steel, yeah.
It's still possible.
Find it. So if we do that,
Looks like a multiple was maybe scored on the Team GB Suitor game. It'll be interesting to see what goes up on the scoreboard there.
Yeah, looked to be a few yellows around there. I didn't see the conclusion of the end, but
yeah, go for it.
yeah, again a bit of discussion here with Team Morrison. They're just talking about what they're trying to do, what they're trying to achieve at the
I guess
end.
like, is that gonna half? Is that potentially going to make
I
your
think
last
again,
shot a
if you,
little bit more simple?
You know, they've talked
Only
about
if you
that they
make it
could
really good. Have you ever
caught the
overcurl
front yellow, they would roll out of the way.
I think I like this
a
better.
bit of weight,
Well, I'm 5.
Yeah, we've seen this more, so
an option, but they seem to like taking off the.
Skal slå den øverste vår og rulle bort der.
Looks like you can probably see a good half of it probably from the hat.
Det er jo spørsmålet om vi kjapper den og så sier ta igjen da. Så må vi ta 3.
Yeah, they're keeping us in suspense on sheet E by not putting
Yeah,
that
yeah.
score up. Definitely a score for Team GB because they played first. But
clean, clean. Whoa, clean, clean. Yep, yep. Hard rolls off. Hard rolls, hard rolls.
what they were looking for.
Spørsmålet om vi tar den da, eller om vi kjapper eller ruller litt inn og gir
It
bort.
does, I guess, Scanslin, Kristen throws one in the top
Eller
eight
så
foot
må vi
here.
garde den.
That red
Get
drops
back up.
off a straight draw. Does
Da
allow
kjapper den
tap
jo
up,
bare den
of course,
igjen
but
da. Hun har jo ødelagt dragningen
interesting.
litt da, så vi må jo tappe hvis vi garder.
what would you be playing here? Well,
Yeah, I quite like rolling
Bitte
off
litt mer
the
is,
top
da.
one, so
Ja.
could just ignore it. Try and throw the intern draw and just
probably gonna have
square
this
them up a
draw.
little bit and then say, there you go.
because it very much is, steel or the game is over anyway.
Yeah.
So
You'd ever
lying to can adjust or it's
Could ever stick it on just on the top of the R of
Could either
Perth,
play the draw
somewhere
or-
around there, trying on the intern.
Just hear me out.
Means if
Getting
they
double
do,
off our own.
it catches the eye. If you go try and throw the double, it's pretty thin.
But
And,
if we lose a what? Not bad.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
looks like they're choosing to play
it's really good.
possibly just
Yeah.
short of the house, more as a guard and saying okay, make
Yeah.
your
Whereas if we
make your
get a
tap.
one,
Yep.
free up.
Which again, it's all down to
Yeah,
how the thrower
yeah.
kind of feels. But yeah, you're certainly. They need to steal here if
It is very.
they have any chance of
It's
getting
not.
this.
It's not touch
Game
it skinny,
going.
but it is skinny. It's like a quarter.
Team Laurie have followed up their taking of 3 with a steal of 2, so that certainly gives them advantage in that game.
Could also play the runner.
And it was a 1 for Team GB. It looked like it might have been a few more than that,
Yeah,
Mary,
it
the way
was,
things that in was.
The one red that was there was obviously sitting in the right place of your Team Suitor and the wrong place of your Team GB, but so that's still very much anyone's game.
2-point difference playing the last.
So this is on its way, and
Yeah.
high of line currently, but certainly beginning to draw. They won't want it to overdraw. They're trying to cut down the room that Rebecca has, so
Are you feeling
they've
that?
successfully done that.
Yeah.
We know, but
Wow.
We're talking. Yeah, we're talking about is it
Where-
worth going for this for
Do
2
you
or
think
3?
the initial call there was the
We're still. If we miss it, we're
release?
1 down.
Yeah, that's probably why I said
up
wow,
with,
just
sorry.
the way that Sophie Jackson was just discussing it. But let's listen in a little bit.
We've not seen a huge amount down here. I'm guessing it'll curl, but yeah. Hey. No hair high. Yep. Yeah, you throwing peel. I think just because it'll curl.
Yeah, looking to throw peel at this, which certainly,
Whereabouts is that? Whereabouts
yeah.
is
I mean,
that?
it's a great shot. You're scoring 3 and
It's
taking
game
the
shot
but
probably really. So, but I think the
almost
percentage
game
call.
shot if you win your 1 though.
It
You know,
is absolutely. I agree.
really.
Yep.
A lead of 3 going down the last end, I would be happy with. Maybe they're happy with a lead of 2. You know, so this is make it you've won. Don't make it. It's not a huge disaster, but it's certainly a big call, big shot to make.
Oh, please.
So the race takeout is underway.
Michael!
Trying to make this curl a little bit.
Good try.
Yeah, a little higher than the what hit. So that's a steal of 1,
Try, Micah.
and we are 4-3. Playing the last,
That's
so it's
tough
not
one. We
yet.
went for it. That's up.
Yeah, I just think the psychological edge there with, now the Norwegians feel a little bit upbeat. They've still won and still in the game playing the 8th end, and
Absolutely.
whereas
Yeah.
if they go, you make the draw there and take your 1, go 3 up, then psychologically that's it's a tough way back for the Norwegians in that situation.
I
So
think that the risk and reward there. Yeah, I absolutely get you're closing out the game. There's no way you take a 3, the game is yours. But the loss of 1 does let the other team believe they have a chance. Where, yeah, I think we would both have made our 1, or certainly attempted to make the 1.
Yeah.
Not saying that we would have made it, but you take the lead 5-3 and force the issue. You go top 4 on the tee line. Someone to try and get a 3. They haven't looked like scoring a 3, Team
No.
Rorvik, but they've just stolen, so they maybe think, well, we can
Steal again.
Let's see
Yeah.
how that pans
see
out.
how it goes.
This looks like it's going to be another fairly short or long guard. If they can actually get it over the hog line, now that would be an absolute disaster. But it has
Wow,
just
over
about
by
made it over.
millimetres.
Yeah, I would
Rebecca coming down just to have a look.
But it's over. Yeah, well swept again.
Over and touching the centre line. So
Yeah.
This is the slowest path.
Plenty of room for the second guard to go in. Sophie being called round.
I liked it. Looks like it's running.
On its way, a little high of line at the moment, but we've seen how this really finishes hard at the end coming into the house.
top D, top button. So
Ideal.
Good spot.
Ideal spot. Yep.
Let me judge.
Just keeping an eye on a couple of these other games here. The Schwaller-Henderson game, which is 4 each, playing the 8th end. Henderson has got last stone in this one. Team Schwaller have a pretty good position here. They've got one on the 1 foot behind a couple of double guards. So
Just try and give you the same amount of
Yeah,
hand.
there's another poor. You know, I don't like to say it, but that's really not a great shot. She had to find another 6 feet of running out of her hand to give the sweepers a chance to get that close to the rings, and she's really had an awful time, which is such a shame with her weight. But there's no distance between those at all. They're both going to go
easily to
pretty-
go now, yeah. So Sophie Sinclair just on the carve here, trying to make this draw, and
Yeah,
it's
successfully
into a
done.
good position. The only consolation here is the guards are long enough that they probably can pay a little bit of weight here and get a little bit of a bump on these two and change the angles around.
Well, I guess you would come this way, but this is the hand that they've struggled to get the bend on. You wonder if coming the other hand they could have tapped and rolled in front.
I agree.
A fraction with their yellow. I think I'd have been playing the other hand, because you tap here, you're rolling
Always rolling open.
I think the other hand was the hand to play, but they haven't played that clockwise rotation very often. And maybe they just feel that this is the one that they know the ice for, but again, a little light. Not a disaster though, giving them a guard. Because we do think those top guards are going.
Yeah, no hesitation.
Leaves
This
the
is
other hand open as well. So yeah, maybe it's ended up in quite a good spot for them, but it's a long way off the weight she was called for.
yeah,
She was called to tap, so looking for back 4.
yeah. It's a
almost
good
back
10 feet
8,
short,
yeah.
isn't it? So yeah.
Maybe the ice is slowing up a little. Jen called on to this one pretty quickly.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
And yeah, I mean, while it doesn't look terrific at the moment, but it's probably not a huge disaster. It's unfortunate to move the two that were, protecting that button pretty well, but it's early enough in the end that actually, you've got to be. You can't be looking for your lead stones to be the ones that score for you in the end, I suppose, really.
Yeah. Still one up with the hammer, so I suppose you can kind of take that thought process that you don't really need to score here, so keeping it simple and
Yeah, and they now have that back ringer, which is
Counter, yeah.
which is quite good. Might be a saver if they get the opportunity to clear something out. Then I think that is a good spot for Team Rorvik on this occasion. Although it's quite
Yeah,
long,
the longer one.
It does give a bit of separation between the two guards. Can you see what's happening on sheet C between Team China and Team Peterson?
yeah, so it looks very close. There's a whole gaggle of stones in play, but there's one counter for each side, biting the 1 foot. So Team Peterson playing yellow stones,
yeah,
needing
they
to make
needed
two.
So, Team Rorvik down to third stones and looking to throw a guard.
Vi skal ta det foran den gule garden, og du får en dobbeltgard der. Ellers blir det altfor mye vinkel for det. Så tidlig.
So keeping an eye on Schwaller versus Henderson here. Henderson not in a great spot here. Not many angles to play with. Schwaller is absolutely buried on the 1 foot, covering the pin. And she's about to throw her last stone here.
That's unfortunate after a really close game, but yeah, they might. I mean, throwing another stone in might give her an angle. You never know. Sometimes, if you're sitting well protected, then do you really want to throw another one in? This, I think, is, oh my goodness, and they're going to have to work really hard to get that over the hog line, and they haven't been able to do that. Well, that certainly plays into Team Morrison's hands.
Thick half!
A real shame for Team Rorvik. They needed that guard in play.
Yep, Jennifer Dodd's been asked to cart the guard here, and if they pick the one in the house, then a bonus.
Happy days.
Whoa! Yep! Whoa, whoa! That's good, Jen.
Okay, well, moved it around, but it's very much still in play and slightly nearer the button than it was before, perhaps.
Yep.
It was, but it's still...
So just throw the guard here.
Yeah, which, having just underthrown the first one significantly, that's perhaps be interesting to see.
So here's so we've got Team Henderson with their last one here. A really tough shot that Faye's got faced with here. She's trying to tap one that's on the button, fully buried for the win here. She's very close. Don't know whether they've got the weight enough to move it. Had the line, but just didn't quite have the weight there, so it ended up with a steal for Team Schwaller there, and they win that game 5-4. But what a great game between two great sides there. So.
And Team Rorvik have put their guard exactly where they would have wanted it, I think.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Which was a good recovery, having... Guessing the game China versus Peterson is over, so...
Yeah, I think they couldn't possibly make two there, so China were line... so they were line one, but China had cover all around it, so...
No way in.
It looked like there was no way in there, so...
Jen looking
Good sweep, so good
to
job.
heal this guard. She's done. Kristen will either attempt to... I think it would be another guard with your first stone.
Yep. And then just... Well, you could either probably just go top 8 and lie 2 and say, well, are you drawing the pin? Are you taking on the double? Or...
Rebecca's made some good draws and some good hits, so
She
I mean
has.
that she should feel fairly comfortable with whichever option she's given. So it's on its way, and potentially a tighter line than Marianne's, so, and very short again. And in fact, hogged. I mean, that's, you're skipping your third, hogging a stone at this, in the 8th end. Sweepers have to be communicating better about the splits that they're
About the
looking
weights,
for. That's well, effectively game over. Team Morrison have played well during this game, but they've really been allowed to.
They
by
have.
missed opportunities, perhaps, from Team Rorvik, but
They haven't been put under a huge amount of pressure through the game, just in terms of stone placement. And,
Lead. Yep. Yep. Hard. Hard. Hard roll. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, good.
yeah, so you freeze those and say draw the 8 foot. I think that's
Yeah.
probably all you can do.
yeah, it's got to.
So did I, and then I was like, yeah. Like if it's not on any of it, or even if it's on just an edge. If not, take the out turn or the in turn draw. If it's perfect.
On its way, I think.
Yeah.
Wait, looks like it's there. Trying to carve it over.
I think that's end of the
That
game,
is
and
the
it's
end of that
handshakes.
game.
So,
Well played, Team Morrison, but I think Team Rorvik will rue their chances that they had there.
yeah, important for Team Morrison there just to get a win on the board and get themselves into the tournament as well. And this group's going to be evenly poised. A lot of tough games to come here. So, well, tonight we've got our last draw of the day, which is on at 5:15, and our featured game is Team James Craik against Harstad, the Norwegians. And you've got the company of Alan Chalmers and Graham Cormack this evening, who'll talk you through the game here. We're just about at the very end of the last game that's currently on in this draw, and the ladies' draw, and that's the Team Suitor against Team GB Unigames Girls. It looks like the Unigames Girls squad has kind of got this one kind of sewn up.
They're certainly looking in the more positive position at this point, aren't they, Alan?
Team Suitor need to somehow try and make two here to try and force the extra end here, but it's not really looking much possibility here. So anyway, we'll wind it up now. Thank you, Mari, for your company today.
No, thank you. That's
that
me
was
finished for the weekend, so
really
I
good.
shall
Thanks for
be
your
able
help
to
and your assistance.
sit on the spectators side of things and enjoy the rest of the weekend. So thanks, Al.
Indeed, and I'm going to call off now. Thanks for listening, folks. As I say, we'll be back on at 5:15 for the men's draw with Alan Chalmers and Graham Cormack. So good evening. Thank you.
Bye bye.